We really have a unique opportunity to listen and learn from four of the finest electrical contractors, not only in Chicago, but probably throughout the Midwest. We'll go over topics such as kind of business trends so we can better understand their business. We'll talk a little bit about technology and how that's impacting the way they do business. We'll talk about new products and services that we can help enhance their profitability and really help them be successful. And we'll leave the last 10 minutes for Q&A. So if you want to jot down some notes or questions you go through, that would be great. We're going to kind of do this as really an open discussion, since it feels like we're in a living room or a den here. So first things first, we'll go ahead and let the panel introduce themselves.
Good morning. I'm John Barger. I founded B&Z Electrical Contractors back in 1987. My background started, I was hired as an electrician at O'Hare Airport in heavy industrial for a major airline, and we got bought out by Federal Express in 1987. I kind of saw the writing on the wall and was setting up my own company to start that. I didn't want to transfer to their headquarters. So in 1987, I started B&Z Electrical Contractors. We're about an hour and a half west of Chicago. In Woodstock, Illinois, we serve southeast Wisconsin, northeast Illinois. I thought that I was going to start by getting back into the industrial, the business that I knew, but at the time the residential market was so hot, we jumped into that and kind of built our company around that. Over the years, we've expanded that. We've gone from project, large housing projects into custom, and now we've actually almost become a concierge electrical contractor. We work primarily just for architects, engineers, designers, some of the top designers from Chicago, New York, around the country. We really try not to do a lot of plan and spec work. We just really cater to our clients, their residences, their businesses. We've been asked to work in lots of different states around the country. This year we got offered to go work in Switzerland on a project. So very, very exclusive clientele, and that's kind of been our business model.
Thank you. Luke?
Yeah, I'm Luke Fenner. I work for the American Electric Company. I'm the Chief Operations Officer there. An overwhelming majority of the work that we do is the tenant interiors. So inside every single one of those buildings, we're competing with 5 other people that can do it just about as well as we can. And so it's a pretty cutthroat piece of the business. I've been in construction for 4 years. And I was in the Navy for 11 years before that.
Thank you, Luke. Gary?
Good morning. Gary Masika. I'm one of the owners of Lyons and Pinner Electric Companies. We're located in LaGrange, which is a suburb about 20 minutes west of downtown Chicago. We primarily have 2 divisions, an infrastructure group that does roadway lighting, traffic signals, heavy highway, railroad work, and utility work, and then we also have our interior group, which does commercial and industrial. We do a lot of food process plant work, schools, remodels, some design build as well, from high-rise construction to big box, and glad to be here this morning. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Gary. Jeff?
And my name is Jeff Weir. I'm a vice president at Kelso Burnett. We have 4 offices throughout northern Illinois. We were founded in 1908. A little interesting fact, I think we have the 3rd oldest active electrical license in the city of Chicago. So, and we do mostly commercial work, some hospitals, a little bit of utility, and yeah.
Very good. Well, thank you, Jeff. Well, we've heard even Gary this morning talking about innovation and disruption. So let's talk a little bit about your business and the trends that you're seeing. So maybe let's look at what are some of the business trends that you see that are disrupting your business and the way that you do business. And maybe, John, if you want to take the lead, please, that'd be great.
I think the most important thing, and it's very encouraging to see some people younger than myself sitting up here, is the age of the workforce, especially in our capacity. So many of the companies like myself, we've been around. Retirement is in the near future. We can see that having the people to step in, fill the spots, and have the brain trust also, everything that we've learned. And yes, technology is coming forward, and maybe we're falling on the backside of that. But I see so many very, very qualified people retiring out. And a concern of mine is, who's going to take that? Who has the experience? And feeding off of that, too, is technology. And our speaker previous to us, he summed it up great. We're trying to keep up with it. I still have the old black laptop, that he was talking about. That's 10 years ago technology. Some of the other things too is, again, in our industry, trying to get people more involved in it. And I see so many of our distributors, manufacturers, reps just struggling to have people to fill these spots to help us get our jobs done timely, to get our quotes out timely, and to keep things rolling along.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jeff, any thoughts on?
Sure. Some of the things that we're seeing coming down the pipeline are, prefabricated buildings coming in as more like pods or modules, and what that does to us in terms of if we've listened to, say, the buildings commissioner speak on how that impacts our business. If they're doing mods or pods that are outside of the Chicagoland area, does an inspector from Chicago go and do the inspection somewhere else? Is it UL listed when it comes in? So there's a lot of things that we're seeing in the industry that are changing in a hurry.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Gary?
Yeah, I think, a big challenge nowadays, John touched on the aging workforce, and manpower is certainly an issue here in Chicago. I mean, if you're not from around here and you're visiting, you look around and you see one tower crane after another, in downtown area. And, that's just the vertical construction downtown. That's not the schools that are being built and other, factories from, refinery work to food process. And finding a qualified workforce is really tough, which is why I dedicate a lot of my time to our apprenticeship programs here in Chicago. I'm a trustee for the Local 134, which is our in-house local in Chicago. I'm a trustee on the apprenticeship there, and we're working really hard building a new facility now, or expanding our facility, and rapidly trying to train people and replace that aging workforce that's retiring, and it's scary.
Yeah, and the knowledge transfer.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Luke, what's changed in your business over the past 2 years and the way you're doing business?
And to piggyback a little bit off of what Jeff was saying,
Sure.
is that it's becoming more like manufacturing. Slowly but surely, these concepts that have been, in the manufacturing realm, this Lean, Six Sigma, DMAIC process, all these things are slowly but surely working their way into the way that we do business. And we run into some issues with that, obviously, with the way that things have always been done. There's obviously constraints with putting things inside of elevators and, the modularization thing, right? I mean, it would be great to build a high-rise one piece at a time, but, how are we going to get it down here? It has to be on a road. But I would say that mentality and that thought process is probably driving a lot of the inefficiency out of what we do.
Okay, very good, very good. As manufacturers and distributors, for us to understand where your organizations are going, and so we can invest in new products and services, if you can share your individual organizations, what are some of the investments you're making in terms of innovation, technology, and maybe some of the objectives that you guys have in the short term?
Sure. We're trying to do as much training as we can, and kind of circling back on the first question to get to this one, probably a third to half of our business is lighting, and the new lighting technology and the new lighting controls. That certainly is the biggest obstacle we have right now, trying to coordinate systems, trying to get the people who specify the systems to actually understand them, again, being the designers, the architects, the engineers we work with, having them on the front end know what they're looking for. It's come down now to where these products get specified. You've got a 14-digit alphanumeric code describing one part, trying to get everybody to understand what that part is, what's compatible with that part. We spend so much time doing this now, and the resources now, a project manager in our office may only have 2 projects they're working on for a month, and just trying to get that coordinated, the expense that incurs for us that we have to pass along to our client, and we're almost having to educate the people who are the specifiers and the designers, and that, for our company, is our biggest hurdle right now, without question.
Okay. Luke, we'll just go down the line.
Yeah. Similarly, we're concentrating a lot more on designing our build before we even get on the construction site. So we literally have a union electrician designing the drawings in Bluebeam before we're even on the site. And for a while, that was somewhat unpalatable to have this person that's supposed to be installing, behind a computer, because that really wasn't the intent of it. So we're really trying to get a design finalized and speed up the bottleneck of the design, followed by the bottleneck of laying out the project, right? So it's like sequential bottlenecks, but once you get through those two things, you can get more people on the site. So designing and using like Trimble technology to lay out the points as fast as possible is where I would say the largest amount of our hires and equipment that we've purchased in the past 2 years.
Okay, super. Gary, on your end?
Yeah, we
Investments initiatives?
to echo what Luke was just talking about, we do a lot of pre-design or redesign prior to deploying our field people. Many times we're in charge of our own design if it's a design-build project, but if it was a plan and spec, we're looking at ways of, what can we prefabricate in the shop, our labor costs here in Chicago roughly is $1.50 a minute. So it's, 10 minutes saved is real money. So we're always looking at ways to, build a better mousetrap and figure out how to save those minutes in the field. And a lot of times our distributors who are our partners here, and we're lucky in Chicago, we have some great distributors, they can be a key instrumental part of our success with that. So.
Absolutely. Jeff, on your end?
Yeah, when I started in the industry, our purchasing agent would buy conduit from whoever was cheapest, and then she would buy strut from somebody different. She'd buy a box from somebody different, and we'd watch trucks roll onto the job site, one after another after another. And slowly but surely, we've seen things change. Where at one point it was distributors offering to have fixtures staged in their warehouse, so that way we weren't having to try to coordinate things, drop shipped right to the project site. So watching slowly this evolution where we are trying to do partnerships with our distributors rather than just look for the low price. Because like Gary's saying, at $1.50 a minute, the 2% that I saved on strut for a job can get eaten up on one bad delivery or one guy trying to travel 30 floors, down to a service elevator and wait. So we've been a lot better about trying to do some standardizations and then using our distributors to help through a lot of the logistics that previously we were trying to do on our own.